Halo Studios have just dropped another teaser for the new Last Stand operation, which will of course be arriving with the summer update for Halo Infinite in just a few days. The trailer itself mostly focuses on the new linear academy themed firefight maps, which will be the main featured playlist when the event launches, and it seems like the theme of the operation is of course the fall of the academy, potentially picking up on where the story left off after season 3, with the possibility of it expanding upon or potentially ending that Aratus plotline. But throughout the trailer there was also a couple of interesting pieces of armour that I did want to take a look at, alongside some other images that have now officially been posted. We also have the Mutilator and of course the maps themselves to talk about today, and what I'd expect to see in the upcoming stream on May 2nd. So anyways, without wasting any more of your time, let's jump straight in. So first of all, let's start things off by talking about the Mutilator. This of course the double barrel banished shotgun with a gravity hammer strapped to the front that was leaked a very long time ago. Personally, I had started to just assume that the Mutilator would probably never get added to the game, and was maybe being saved for a future installment instead. We have seen this done in past Halo games where certain sandbox editions will be tested in the current game but end up getting saved until the next release. However, I was very fortunately wrong, and the Mutilator will be arriving as a part of this update. The weapon does look quite cool, and I am very excited to see how it will function in matchmaking. I've of course tested it in that little training round map that I know a lot of us played a little while back. But this gun seems like it's going to be quite an incredible addition, a nice new power weapon to the sandbox. That is of course going to be completely unique and not a retooling of a weapon that is currently available in-game. Not that I'm opposed to more additions like that, but the Mutilator is definitely going to be a nice breath of fresh air. Following on from that, we've had a decent look at some of the armour that is coming to the game with this update, with this all being a banner that is visible on the Events tab in Steam. And in this banner there is 4 new helmets that are visible, one of which is Raider from Halo 4, the other is a Halo 3 EVA helmet, the one in the middle looks like it could potentially be inspired by the Halo 4 Marines, and the one on the left could potentially be inspired by Halo Wars Hellbringers, or it could of course just be a completely new addition. Now, I'm going with the assumption based on the fact that these are in the banner that these will likely be the 4 armour sets available in the new 50 tier Operation Pass. 2 of these sets are utilising the Mark 5B core and the others look to be using Mark 7. But aside from the helmets, you can't really get a clear glimpse at most of the armour that's being used. We can of course tell there's some new shoulder pads and possibly some new knee pads. And the coating that the Raider Spartans are using definitely looks new. I even think the one in the centre is, because Cadet Grey or none of the other grey coatings seem to have the white arms that this one does. Though overall, like I say, aside from the helmets, we don't get a very clear indication of what some of these full armour sets will look like. But again, I expect these to probably be the ones available in the Operation Pass. One of these will definitely be free, potentially again that one in the middle, with the rest being available in premium tiers. However, something else that is very noticeable here is that we're of course looking at a reflection from Commander Agrina's visor. And of course you can make out her helmet is there, so this is definitely indicating that we'll likely be seeing her armour added to the game. Most likely as a kit, which is kind of unfortunate. I would much prefer it to be an armour core. But again, based on leaks, though I try my best to avoid them in any capacity, it has been leaked as a kit, which means the customization on it will of course be very minimal unless they make some updates to kit customization with this operation. But my main hope with this armor set is that it's available through the exchange and make it some sort of long-term progression goal. We had Haunted, which cost 75,000 Spartan points. I would maybe make this cost even more, like 150 or maybe even 300,000 Spartan points. Really make this a grind to unlock, something that players would want to work towards, which to be fair would also have been better if it was a core, or if we can at least use the helmet and coating on all of our other Spartans. But I do hope this is a part of some brand new exchange refresh, hopefully alongside some other items. But we'll circle back around to some of this in a moment. Our last bit of new information of course comes from that teaser trailer that I mentioned earlier. Of course there is a ton of new cosmetics here that we can talk about, some of which are pretty cool. The first thing I wanted to bring up is a little something here that you might be able to see on screen. At first glance you might not notice, so I'll slow it down. Does that look familiar, that little green beam that goes up at that Phantom? Because it looked a little bit familiar to me. Ringing any bells yet? There is a chance that we might be getting the carbine or some variation of the carbine, possibly some hybrid weapon, in this update alongside the Mutilator. It could of course be coming later on and this is just a small teaser, or hell, it could mean absolutely nothing and I could be looking way too much into a small green beam of light that flashes across the screen. However, people also tried to say that I was overreacting over the fuel rod teaser trailer and that wasn't actually going to be the fuel rod and was in fact the plasma pistol. Now, if it is the carbine, it would be great if they just brought back one of the older models or potentially used that unused model that we know was in Infinite's files pre-launch. However, I'm also not opposed to it being a weapon hybrid. I wouldn't be surprised if they maybe use the bandit rifle or something like that as the basis, and have it be some reverse engineered weapon by the Banished, again like the fuel rod spanker. But regardless, this does seem a little bit exciting. Of course, it could mean nothing, so do temper your expectations. Even if this isn't the carbine, this still seems to be a pretty decent update. Anyway, of course, the maps that we can see here are made in Forge, and they are linear firefight missions. We've had one of these in matchmaking before, and it seems like we're going to have a playlist dedicated to this type of mode, which is of course a game of firefights. You'll be capturing points and stuff like that, but it is telling much more of a linear story, which is quite cool, which feels a bit more like a campaign mission. The maps seem fun, and I am not opposed to more PvE content, but I really would love some form of PvPvE. Something like Warzone, or even just games of big team battle, but AI spawn in throughout the match, so I'm not fighting just players. Just something to give it more of a large scale feeling. They could easily get away with doing some form of invasion in Infinite, where one team is defending points and they have a bunch of Marines with them, and the other team, I guess, would technically be playing as banished Spartans and pushing in with some banished forces. That would be amazing. But anyways, moving on. Throughout this trailer, which I've played on screen a couple times now, you might notice there is a few new pieces of armor. We get a couple of glimpses of some of the armor that we saw in that banner that I spoke about just. And of course, we get to see Captain Agrina's armor, which again looks to be like it's probably going to be a kit. I also noticed what is possibly a new Bulldog weapon model here, but there's something very similar in this frame too, which I can't tell if it's the Bulldog or if it's the battle rifle, or maybe it's customization for the MA5K. There's also this red armor here, which we see a couple of times, which I think is new. But the armor that got me the most excited is the Orion Macworld Master Chief armor. We have seen this armor once before. It was added to Halo 2 Anniversary in Master Chief Collection. And of course, this is the Halo armor that was the Halo armor before Halo became what it is today. This has been such a highly requested set for a very long time. A lot of people thought it was going to get added with Season 3 with Mirage. So it is quite crazy seeing that we're finally getting this armor years later. Now, this probably will be a shot bundle, but I'm not going to lie, even if it is, I'm likely going to pick this one up. And one final bit of copium. I noticed that throughout the trailer, you rarely see any of the Spartans from the front. You usually see them from behind, with the exception of the Agrina kit, and if they're in very dark environments. Could this be them potentially hiding that cross-core chest pieces are coming in this update? I know it sounds like a bit of a Halo reach, but just stay with me. I just feel like, you know, it's a bit bizarre that we basically see all the Spartans from behind. It feels like maybe they're hiding some, maybe they've got some cards up the sleeves, tricks up the sleeves, however you want to put it. But anyways, I think that is everything worth talking about today. I think I've milked this teaser enough now. Let me know what you all think down in the comments. I'll of course be watching the community live stream live, hopefully on Friday, and of course making videos covering it after, so keep an eye out for all of that. Anyways, thank you for watching, and I'll catch you all in the next one.